It only took one night to destroy everything. Aiden and Marissa were both 18 when their paths first crossed. She was ringing in the new year with a few classmates in a cramped second-floor apartment that always smelled like popcorn and cheap vodka. He walked in behind a friend who happened to know one of Marissa's roommates from community college. The second Aiden stepped through the door. His eyes landed on her, and they didn't leave. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, not the best dressed, not the smoothest. But the way he looked at her, like the rest of the room didn't exist, made Marissa's breath catch in her throat. They never actually spoke that night. Too many people, too much music, not enough time. But a couple of weeks later, Marissa got a text from an unknown number. It was Aiden. He'd snagged her number from a mutual friend and took a shot in the dark. Their first date was a mess. Awkward silences, nervous laughter, and spilled drinks. But Aiden was different. He held doors, walked her to her car, checked in to make sure she got home safe. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. Marissa fell hard. From that point on, they were glued together. Aiden became her first real boyfriend, the kind who would carry her barefoot down sidewalks when her heels started cutting into her ankles. They stayed together through college, then moved in together. A wedding always seemed to be just around the corner. But Aiden kept delaying the proposal until he finished his engineering program in another city. Each semester he'd be gone for a few weeks. They'd fall asleep whispering on the phone, counting down the days until he was back. And then, just hours after graduation, Aiden got down on one knee. By that point they'd been living together for 4 years. Friends whispered rumors, assumed she was pregnant, but they weren't rushing anything. Their relationship had simply grown up on its own. They honeymooned in the Smoky Mountains, and a few months later they started trying for a baby. 6 months passed before Marissa saw that faint pink line. Pregnancy wasn't kind to her. She was nauseous, sore, moody, exhausted. She didn't feel like herself, more like a borrowed body she couldn't return. But when their daughter finally arrived, all that pain and chaos suddenly had a name, a face, and a perfect little cry. Marissa gave everything to their newborn. Every minute, every drop of energy. Aiden, meanwhile, picked up a second job to keep them afloat. He was gone before sunrise and asleep before dinner. They barely touched, barely talked. The cracks started to form. Marissa still loved him. So much it physically hurt sometimes. But the silence between them became a constant hum in the background of her day. She bounced back physically, got into a rhythm with workouts, started to recognize her reflection again. But emotionally, things didn't improve. She convinced herself Aiden had fallen out of love. In truth, he hadn't. He was still completely hers, just worn down by the weight of responsibility. He carried it quietly, but it showed in his shoulders, in his short fuse, in the way he flinched every time the baby cried. As their daughter grew and finally began sleeping through the night, life began to settle. But by then, something had changed in Marissa. She felt invisible. She handled feedings, laundry, cleaning, errands, all solo. Aiden worked, ate, slept, repeated. Resentment crept in like a slow leak. She thought about divorce. Not seriously, but not fleetingly either. When their daughter turned 2 and started daycare, Marissa returned to work. It felt like coming up for air after being held underwater for too long. She had adult conversations again. Wore heels. Got compliments. For the first time in years she felt seen. She told herself things just needed time. That she and Aiden would find their way back to each other. But then came the New Year's party. The night that broke everything. She and Aiden had argued the night before. Over something small. But it escalated quickly. His jealousy boiling over, her exhaustion snapping back. So she left. Told him she needed air. That she wouldn't be long. At the office party she let herself go. Karaoke. Drinks. Laughter. Her best friend, Cassidy, kept up with her shot for shot until around 1 a.m., when Cassidy turned green. Marissa offered to take her home. Cassidy's husband, Cole, met them at the building's front door. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with that rugged flannel shirt looked like he belonged on a magazine cover. Marissa had met him once, in passing, and remembered thinking Cassidy had definitely married up. Cole scooped his wife into his arms and carried her upstairs, while Marissa trailed behind, holding Cassidy's heels and purse like an exhausted maid of honor. Once Cassidy was tucked into bed, Cole didn't rush Marissa out. He opened a bottle of Prosecco and made a joke about the party continuing in the kitchen. She should have left. She knew it. But the alcohol, the late hour, the ache in her chest, everything blurred. They talked, laughed, got too close. And when Cole reached across the table and brushed her hand, she didn't pull away. The kiss was electric, sharp, stupid, and irreversible. 1 minute she was sitting upright. The next, she was tangled in a stranger's arms on his living room couch. She woke hours later in a cold panic. It was nearly 4 a.m. Her phone was dead. Her makeup was ruined. Her hair was a mess. She scrubbed her face with baby wipes and prayed the truth wouldn't follow her home. But it did. Mike Aiden was waiting. He didn't yell, didn't scream, just looked at her. She tried to spin a story about Cassidy getting sick, her phone dying, a night gone sideways. He almost believed her. Until he helped her out of her coat. And saw the mark. A bruise on her neck, careless. Obvious. He didn't say anything. She sat on the hallway floor and cried until morning. By sunrise he had packed. "I'm filing tomorrow," was all he said. And then he left. 1 month later she was alone. Officially. No husband. No second chance. Just an apartment that felt too quiet, and a daughter who'd never know the version of their family that once felt invincible. All because of one night. One mistake. One kiss.